All right, I think we're going to get started. Welcome, everyone, to the VRARA Storytelling Committee call. I'm Chris Paff, your co-chairman. I hope to be joined by our other co-chair, Michael Owen, today. But let's get right to it. Jonathan Newth is the CEO of Focal Point VR, somebody I've actually known for 23 years, going back to his days with Kuju. For those who remember, a rather renowned mobile game studio in England. Jonathan is based in Guildford, UK, when he's not traveling. And speaking of travel, I really reconnected with in person at IBC in Amsterdam, where he was showing off something that you're going to hear a little bit more about. But for those who don't know, of course, Jonathan's been working on a socially enabled live stream VR platform. And again, he works with, as I mentioned, a lot of folks in the game industry. And you're going to learn more about what they're doing in full 360 video and immersive audio. Speaking of reconnections, I had reconnected virtually with Jonathan 5 years ago when we were launching something for my client MediaKind, and Jonathan was working with somebody we know very well. Speaking of the Netherlands, it's Rob Kanan from Tiled Media. But enough of an intro. Let's dial right into it. Please turn off your cameras and mute your mics, and you can ask questions after Jonathan's presentation. Without further ado, Jonathan Newth.
Very kind. Thank you for the introduction. Let me see if I can share the appropriate window. Brilliant. Okay, hopefully you can all see that. So my plan is to just spend 15 minutes talking through the journey that we've had with Focal Point VR over the last almost 10 years. Actually, LinkedIn came with a 10-year anniversary, although we'd really only just started the company 10 years ago, and we started in full force about 9 years ago. So what I'd like to do is just take you through our journey and what we've learned about engaging remote viewers using immersive technology. In the intro, there was talk about a socially enhanced or a socially enabled VR platform. And I will talk about social a little bit towards the end of the presentation. To be honest, that comes from our very out-of-date description of the company, and it talks more about our goals than what we've actually achieved so far. So more on that later. So let me just run through our history. So as a business, our goal is to build immersive experiences for remote fans to engage with live events. And the core of what we've been doing through the journey of the business is telling stories live. So it's all about music, sports, and live events. Sports is probably the core of what we've been doing, and this is a screen grab from a recent project, which I'll talk about again in a minute. So just a little bit of background about what we do as a company today. We have an end-to-end platform which starts with a range of different camera systems for capturing 360 or VR 180 at the highest resolution we can practically do in real time, processing that, delivering it over standard broadcast standard CDNs, and then building playout apps in a range of different VR and AR headsets to have audiences engage with those live events. So essentially, we have components for the end-to-end. With some clients, we deliver an entire solution. With others, we're just delivering the camera system or the playout system. We set the company up in technically 2015, actually started in 2016. And our first real project was a live stream. Ultimately, it was for the launch of the Samsung S8 mobile phone. And they wanted a live stream of a music event. They engaged the UK rock group Royal Blood, and we ran a live stream to social 360. So YouTube, Periscope actually had a 360 offering at that point, and Facebook 360. And that went out to about 100,000 people live at 4K and was subsequently seen by almost 10 million people on demand. That was our very first live project. Since then, we've done a whole bunch of stuff, sports, esports, more music, and a bunch of enterprise work as well, leading to the most recent project, which we're still engaged with, and my team's actually heading out to the UAE this weekend. And here we've built a custom solution to allow fans to jump into AI-driven racing cars. So imagine Formula One racing, take the driver out, stick a computer in, and then rather than having drivers competing against each other, have a bunch of universities compete against each other with their AI algorithms. So this is on track in Abu Dhabi, cars running up to 280 kilometers an hour. So we've built a camera system and an end-to-end solution to allow fans at track and remotely to jump into the car and engage with the racing experience. So that's a bit about what we've done as a company. My experience with VR goes back a bit further. Chris mentioned that I was involved in the games industry. I built a game developer in the UK. We built console, mobile, and PC games. And we played with VR as well. So this is the Liquid Image MRG2 from 1994. We had one of these. I'm very, very annoyed that I actually chucked it away just before we started building this business because it's a bit of history. So that was a pretty heavy fiberglass headset with a single LCD display delivering something like 6 pixels per degree. It wasn't a fantastic experience, but there was something interesting there. We built a flight simulation experience for this headset. So that's my sort of first foray into VR. We set Focal Point VR up at the point where Oculus had launched their Kickstarter before Facebook made their acquisition. So we could see something interesting with the launch of the Oculus headset. And what we wanted to do was build something which would allow people to engage with live events, as I said, remotely. So our initial tests suggested that there was definitely something there. But back in 2015-16, the experience was pretty poor. The resolution was about double that of the old Liquid Image headset, but it was still, you could see every pixel. The visual experience was not great. Headsets were heavy, but there's definitely something there, which is why we set the company up and why we set about building a bunch of solutions to some of the challenges that we foresaw in delivering a great consumer experience. So I want to talk briefly about 3 types of immersion. We think we need to deliver at least 2 and ideally all 3 together to create the type of experience which truly engages people with live events. So I'm going to first of all talk about sensorial or sensory engagement, and that's really about creating an experience in the headset that makes you believe that you're somewhere else. That's a sense of presence, which is very hard to describe. But when you experience it, you know, because you take the headset off and you're a bit surprised you're back at home or back in your office. We've been guided from the outset by some presentations and research done by Michael Abrash, who was then at Steam. They did a lot of interesting research looking at what a headset needs to deliver to create that sense of presence. Amongst those are obviously things like field of view, but a key is resolution. If you see the pixels, essentially that breaks the sense of presence. So you need to deliver a really high resolution display. So the human eye is, or a 20/20 vision, so sort of healthy human vision, is essentially the ability to resolve 60 pixels per degree. So if you can read the bottom line on a Snellian eye chart, that's essentially what you can see. If you convert that into a 360 video, that would be 22K. That's not something you're going to capture, process, and stream in real time without some significant optimizations. And if we look at the history of VR headsets, going back to the initial Oculus Rift, they were capable of displaying about 10 pixels per degree. And if you look at a video at 10 pixels per degree, that's around a 4K 360 video. And it's a bit fuzzy. I would say in the first couple of years, I would say 50% of the people who put a headset on for the first time to look at a video, live or non-live, they take the headset off and say, is it meant to look like that? We've now reached the point with the Vision Pro, the upcoming Samsung, where we're in the mid 30s to 40 pixels per degree. So that's not a complete match for essentially retina resolution, but it's good enough. It's, yeah, certainly with my eyesight, it's good enough. So that delivers a very, very crisp visual. We're at the point of diminishing returns. But that's still around 14, 16K if you convert that into a 360 video. And this is some images we've actually taken with one of our camera systems and then down res to show what you can see on the Meta Quest and the Oculus Rift. So the Quest 3, which is around 20, 22 pixels degree, is actually a decent experience. When you go up to the Vision Pro, then you get a really, really good experience. So we've built a solution we call segmented fidelity streaming. Essentially, what this does is it recognizes the fact that if you're in a 360 environment or even a 180 environment, not every portion of what you're looking at is equally important. Certainly, if you're watching sports, then if you're watching tennis, the tennis court and the tennis players are obviously the things you really want to focus on. So what we do is we design a layout with different resolutions associated with different areas of the view sphere or the view hemisphere. So this is sort of our attention weighted design. And then we both have hybrid rigs with different resolution cameras. So we actually capture the environment at different resolutions in some cases. We stitch that together and then we build a set of tiles at different resolutions, which allow us to reduce the size of the full frame down by a factor of between 2 and 4, which means we can take a 16K video and stream that over existing internet infrastructure. And we unveiled our Vision Pro matched camera system and end-to-end streaming solution in the spring this year. We ran a live stream for 3 days from, actually it was a Harley-Davidson studio near our offices. We ran a stream for 3 days to various UK broadcasters and production service companies, streaming up a singer who was singing for about 6 hours a day. And that worked really well. It was a great experience. That's actually available in our demo Vision Pro headset. So if any of you have a Vision Pro, you can go there live, which is our demo app, and you can see Hannah singing on demand. We reprised this again with French Television for their RG lab, their Roland Garros lab, where they look at next generation immersive experiences or TV experiences, not just immersive. So we ran a live stream from the qualifying week at Roland Garros this year using the same camera system. Our focus, I guess, a significant part of our R&D has been around how do we deliver this really high fidelity visual experience. And we think we've now got to the point where we have a camera system and a solution that's capable of delivering that over existing infrastructure. As we've run through a number of projects, both commercial projects and pilots, we've also built experience finding out what actually works to engage fans. And it's certainly the case that if you provide multiple points of view for a sports event and allow people to choose their point of view, it provides a little bit more engagement than just leaning back watching an event. But just providing a 360 or 180 experience doesn't make full use of what VR is capable of doing. And it doesn't give you significantly more engagement than watching a big screen TV, to be honest. So what we have learned, though, is by bringing together other data sources, whether it be a flat broadcast stream or in this case, telemetry from cars, which allow us to build a mini racing track and show the position of all the cars, show information around how the car is performing. For this project, which is the A2RL project last year, we were able to show insights for how the AI was performing in each car. So the sort of decisions that the cars were making whilst racing. So we found that telling the story of the race in this case through a mixture of immersive video, but also layering that with data-driven experiences and using AI to look at the data and draw its own conclusions about what might be happening, adds a significant level of engagement for consumers. So getting people thinking about, cognitively engaged with live events is absolutely key. And having multiple data sources and bringing those together into coherent environment, we found makes an absolutely massive difference to the experience. We've also built for A2RL, we also built a digital twin experience. So we used telemetry to allow people to actually jump into the cars, render the environment using game engines, and ultimately actually take control of the cars and try doing a digital twin race against the best lap that the AI cars could do. So adding interaction as well as adding more data is another way of getting people more fully engaged with live experiences using VR. The final type of immersion which I want to talk about was social immersion, which we touched on at the top. How do you actually get the VR experience not just be a solitary experience? And many people's immediate reaction to VR is, well, that's completely isolating. And obviously, when you put a headset on, you are isolated from those around you. And there have been a number of different approaches to essentially creating watch parties for live events and non-live video. So Meta have tried a number of different approaches, and they're all based around having avatars that can gesture. You can see where the other person or where the avatars are looking, representing another person. You can chat with them. They've done this attempting to put avatars into the crowd, put them in stadiums, watching big screens. We did the same. This is actually going back to 2016. You can see a little avatar of me, as I might have looked then, as CGI. We actually did a live stream from the Gadget Show. It's one of our very, very first events. And we had an avatar based using full body avatars, social engagement there. To be honest, none of these quite work. The idea of a watch party in VR sounds like a good idea, but I don't think it really works. And we're not the only ones who've tried this. Meta aren't the only ones who've tried this. One project we did get involved in, or we were heavily involved in, was an Audience of the Future funded project looking at bringing together AI immersive for audience to view sports, and in this case, esports were the chosen sport. So we worked with ESL, and we were actually working with Dota as the sport. And the approach there was to use just heads rather than full avatars, but to have them in an environment with a digital twin of the event itself. So going back to the A2RL, cognitive engagement by having more than just video. In this case, there was a digital twin of the Dota map. And this is a screen grab from the Meta app. People were essentially around the experience rather than just watching it together. In this case, you could actually throw things at each other, which were themed to match the game experience. So we found that really worked, and that worked because we were building a custom experience for an event. So rather than just having an array of people in a stadium watching something together, people were able to interact with each other, and the interactions were themed to tie in with the thing that they were watching. The other type of social integration that we've been looking at, or the other way of bringing social in, is to actually bring existing social feeds into an immersive experience. Um, and that's something which we've started to do recently, and we found is definitely working and definitely has value. And then finally, having a co-located social experience. So when you put a headset on at home, you are isolated. As we move towards lighter weight glasses, and even with something like with the Vision Pro with pass-through, uh, we've one of the things we've started to do is look to build a shared environment. So if two people have a Vision Pro, they'll get to see the big screen and any digital twin in the same place in the room. So you can actually have a shared experience where you can point out the same things. And essentially, you've got a virtual asset in your living room. And that absolutely works. It's early days in making it work technically on headsets, but as an experience, yeah, there's no doubt that works, and that's going to be a big part of what we're doing in the next couple of years. And then looking to the future, um, the next year or two, I think is going to be very much driven by how mass market the current headsets get to be in terms of numbers. At the moment, we don't have a mass market. We need to see 100+ million actively used headsets to have event owners get sufficiently engaged with immersive as a serious part of their business. We need to be able to deliver more than just a 360 video to those event owners to create experiences, which mean people who have headsets will use them and more people will buy them. And that's very much our focus for the next couple of years, building on everything we've learned to deliver a joined up immersive experience. That's us. So I'll stop talking and start answering questions.
Great stuff. Great stuff, Jonathan. And
Great.
congrats on what you've been up to recently. Talk a little bit about doing these amazing projects at high resolution, and you did the work with a TEM that you showed for France Télévisions, and also what you showed with Bluebell Opticom at IBC. I mean, this is, because you're really creating a next generation of interaction with the digital twins, but also talking about how you bring these high resolution images into the headset. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, that's been sort of the key technical challenge is how do we deliver a resolution which matches the headset's display capability? And as I mentioned, sort of when we started out, that was not a major challenge because headsets were capable of showing essentially a 4K video. And if you capture or deliver something at a higher resolution, you don't get any benefit. And 4K is well supported by the broadcast industry. We're now at the point where the Vision Pro, the upcoming Samsung, are 3 times that display resolution in headset. So as I said, the approach that we've taken is to build custom camera rigs and live stitching software with the attention weighted variable pixel resolution approach, which allows us to take essentially a 16K video and compress that down into less than 8K. So that's an approach we've taken. You mentioned Rob from Tiled Media. We've worked with Tiled Media, who have a similar cloud-based solution which we integrate with. So in that case, they've chosen to solve the problem by accepting a full resolution contribution and then dynamically serving smaller resolution tiles just to the headset based upon where the headset's looking. Fraunhofer have done something similar in the past, and there are a couple of other companies who have taken a similar approach. So the idea of using the fact you're in VR to essentially deliver the resolution where you're looking at, that's the core, and there are a number of different ways of doing it. So we've got a fixed tiling approach, which works well.
And again, your point, which is needs to be repeated, I think more often than not, is that we're still far from a mass market, but
Yep.
at the same time, the learnings that we've had as the MIPS just increase. You referred to Project Muhan, and or you talk about Samsung, but also what Google is doing uh, with them is it's staggering. I think we're getting to a point of amazement and attraction, and I think that you're certainly enabling you and your partners more excellent content to be enjoyed through a range of different headsets. So I like to feel, as I cross fingers here, that we're getting towards another milestone. Maybe it's a tipping point, but what are your feelings about the next year or two with what is in the roadmap for the hardware side? And I mean, what the heck? We've got massive events, the Cortina Winter Olympics. We have FIFA World Cup in North America. I feel anyway that by the end of 2026, that is, that we'll see even more adoption. But I'm curious how you're looking at this.
Yeah, I think, and I hope you're right. When we set the company up, our original projections were that we'd see mass market adoption of VR by 2021, 2022. That was our original projection. We were obviously wrong. We were out by the look of it, probably about 5 years. And it's interesting to reflect on something John Carmack said a few years ago, who was CTO of Oculus at Facebook for a while. So he said his view was to make VR work in the mass market, you need to build the thing that people want, irrespective of price, and then reduce the price. So deliver that transformative experience at whatever price, which is obviously what Apple have taken as their strategy, and then bring the price down. What actually happened in the early days of VR, which I don't think served it very well, and certainly with the idea of sticking a phone in a headset, which sort of worked, but it only sort of worked, or even cardboard, was build the thing that people can afford, but it's not very good. And then you shouldn't be that surprised that because it's not very good, it becomes a novelty. And that's, I think, where we started, and we've suffered the hangover of that for some time.
And
So,
it's interesting that you mentioned Mr. Carmack, who, of course, I remember from his gaming days
yeah, exactly.
back in the '90s.
Yeah,
And so I feel that not to get too off topic, but you have this amazing embedded infrastructure in very high resolution gaming platforms, so PlayStation, Xbox, and other things. People do pay for that; they get hooked into it. I feel that our immersive world needs something closer to that, perhaps. And I've been very, delighted to see some of the content that Apple has put out. We had Charlotte Mickelborg last year on this call, London-based producer doing some early work. It was actually, speaking of sports, parkour films that she did for Apple Vision Pro. So I've seen some really promising stuff being put out there, but getting to that next new thing that people have to have. Who knows? But I do feel as if we may be getting closer, and I say that because of location based entertainment. So that's sort of my sideways analogy that may come back into something, as you said so eloquently, in terms of what the one-on-one experience is and how you extrapolate and bring that into something that's more social from an engagement perspective. It's just really, it's just so cool to see how you and Focal Point, but also you, Jonathan Newth, have been working on this for so long. And I feel that a lot of this has come to fruition, and you've got, I mean, what you showed with Dota and others is just is really stunning, and I think that we're getting closer to that. If there aren't any other questions, if you do, Jonathan has generously shared his email with you, so you don't have to put your questions here if you're shy. But yeah, I guess before we go, I just want to ask a very basic question: what's next for you?
well, as I said, the team's heading back out to Abu Dhabi next week, so we will be covering the next phase of AI-driven racing, which is a project with challenges at every single level. And it's really exciting to be involved in. So Q1, Q2 next year, then we hope to have a number of sports events that we will be streaming. I can't say which events and to which headset. Some of the headsets aren't yet launched. We don't know the dates yet. So expect to see some more high profile stuff, as well as hopefully some more mass market streaming, but pretty much all sports based. Oh, you're on mute, Chris.
Oh, what a rookie move. I was just going to say, but now I'll say it even more eloquently. We had Denny Breitenfeld on the call much earlier this year, speaking of sports. But yeah, you and I will catch up and talk more about all of this because it's just incredible stuff. Yes, thank you, Chris Von Spitzer. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all who came. This has been recorded, it will be shared. Please tell all your friends about this, and hopefully you can meet Jonathan and his team, anywhere around the planet. Thank you very much for this, Jonathan. Again, really, really great stuff. And I kill the next. So kudos to Focal Point VR and Jonathan Newth. Thanks, everybody. And as we always say, be well, be safe, and be virtual. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.